Now, these panels have been put together by GMS Magazine in coordination with the UK Gaming Media Network. But who are we? What does the UK Gaming Media Network do? We've put together this panel with a bunch of members from the network to answer many of the questions that you may have about us. Probably the best thing to do would be to introduce ourselves. I am Paco Garcia from the GMS Magazine, GMS Magazine podcast and the videos. Who are you? They may want to know.
I'm Michael J. Fox, off of the Little Metal Dog. Oh, wait, off of the Little Metal Dog Show. I am the Little Metal Dog Show. I am art.
So who introduces your show? The man with the soft tones.
Yes.
Welcome, and
yes.
This is
Welcome
your host,
to the Little Metal Dog Show, and this is your host, Michael
Fox.
That's my mate Chris. That's not me.
No, I know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, because he's got a nice voice and I have a terrible one. But yeah, I present the Little Metal Dog Show, which is an interview-based podcast, which has been running for just over 3 years, and inexplicably we have about 30,000 listeners, which I have no idea why.
Where they come from.
Where do they come from? But it is lovely. So yeah, I interview people from anything to do with gaming, be it designers, be it publishers.
Okay, enough.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hi, I'm Liz Mackie. I'm from Nearly Enough Dice podcast. We're kind of your weekly geeky catch-up on video games, card games, board games, role-playing games, and generally whatever we want to talk about, depending on how we feel on a Thursday. We have some listeners. That's really exciting. It's not just my mum, which is kind of cool. And I'm kind of one half of a duo, and Mike unfortunately couldn't be here. So I'm just going to pretend I'm really interesting and not actually hiding in his facade. So, hi.
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 Yeah, did you say something, Chris?
I'm Chris. I run Unboxed board game blog. We've been going for about 3 years. I say we, it's me.
We all say that. We all say, yeah, we've been doing this. And it's just
I always reply to emails. Oh yeah, we're doing this, and it's just me. And so it's in theory weekly, in reality when I get a chance. So yeah, that's me. And
hello, I'm Mark from Grimm Tree Games. I'm cheating a bit because I've got a shop as well. So, but I run the blog. I've got a YouTube channel, and I try and cover more things on YouTube than the blog because I'm lazy. And it's easier to sit in front of a camera and say, there's a game, looks brilliant, look at all the shiny pieces. And yeah, all done just to try and get more people into the hobby, really. That's the goal, new gamers.
I think that's the goal for all of us, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Really?
No, not for you.
We're just drive them away, is it?
That's it.
It's only me
Don't
doing
play
this.
games!
Now, the reason why we're here, and we decided when we wanted to have this panel, said, well, what are we going to be talking about? The reason we were here, I thought it would be a very good idea to represent different areas of what blogging, podcasting, videoing is all about, and basically give you guys our experience in why we're doing this, for how long we've been doing this, basically what we're getting out of it, and why should you want or not want to get into blogging and podcasting, because believe it or not, it's bloody hard work.
It's not. It's really easy.
Depends how good it is.
Exactly. That is a really, really good point, actually. So, Michael, you've been doing this for about 3 years now, and your podcast has been pretty meteoric, because you've gone from being absolutely no one.
Thanks, mate.
Didn't you already have a podcast, Michael, before you started Little Metal Dog Show?
Yeah, I've been doing a video games one called Joypod since I think the dawn of time.
But there you go.
No, seriously, but in the world of board games, no one knew your name before you started the podcast.
Yeah.
And now, I don't think there is a company out there that has not heard of the Little Metal Dog Show.
That's because I keep on annoying them with emails saying,
exactly.
hello.
But you could call anyone in the industry and they would come to your podcast, no worries whatsoever.
Yeah,
No.
well-
How did you get to that point?
You ask. It's very simple. You just ask people. Everybody knows about TED Talks, yeah? If you've not heard what TED Talks are, they are basically these really big, lavish affairs. They essentially started off as like tiny little things, but they're these big, lavish affairs where people are invited to talk about whatever they want to. And Amanda Palmer, who is a fantastic, wonderful musical recording artist, recently did a TED talk on the power of asking. And what every single thing she said was true. There is, you lose absolutely nothing by asking people. And at the end of the day, we all love talking about ourselves. Hell, that's why we're all here, really. Because we're not doing this for the love of the game. We're doing this to show off. Come on, face it. But we do. Everybody loves to talk about the things that they're doing, the things they create, the things they make, the things they love and they enjoy. And if you can get a designer or somebody who runs a company or anything like that to just get in contact with them and say, look, I'd love to talk to you, whether you've got 10 listeners, 10,000 listeners, 100,000 listeners, whatever. People love to share their stories. And if you just come up to them and say, look, I have a show, I'd really, really love to speak to you, and tell your tale, tell your story. 99 times out of 100, you'll get a positive response, and it's fantastic. I mean, I've had people on the show. We've had Donald Vaccarino, who did Dominion,
Kingdom Builder,
and Kingdom, to a lesser extent, Kingdom Builder, to a much lesser extent, Gauntlet of Fools,
and Nefarious.
Nefarious, which is lovely. So where's that gone?
Where's going to score a game? I don't know. Anyway,
Um,
the sides.
Richard Garfield, designer of Magic the Gathering, and Netrunner, which is better.
Controversial.
Not at all. Probably one of my favourite interviews was with Rich Sommer, who is off of Mad Men, which was brilliant because it's just like, dude, you're off Mad Men, and now like we're quite good mates now. I'd like to say that's quite nice, but it's lovely. You just drop an email to people and go, "How do you fancy it?" And they'll come back to you and say, most of the time, just say, "Yeah, let's do this thing." However, if you're in the UK and you're interviewing people in America or Australia or Russia or South Africa or whatever, for God's sake, make sure that you know what your time zones are and be prepared to stay up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to do an interview. Yeah. Oh, God. The amount of times that I've had to get up at like 5 o'clock and speak to somebody in another country. And you've got to make yourself sound enthusiastic and you just want to die because the sun hasn't come up yet and you're just there firing coffee into yourself. It's fun.
Yeah.
But hey, that's why we do it. It's entertaining.
And Liz, when you started the podcast, you guys cover a much broader spectrum
Yes.
of games. Because Michael, you concentrate on board games. That's your thing. Although you've had Bob Salvatore, you have Adventure Books. You have an awful lot of people that do different things. But your main thing is board games.
My main thing is board games. But as long as there's a gaming element.
Yeah, you're happy to have them. But in your case, you guys cover. It's a much broader spectrum.
Correct.
How do you go about deciding this is the format that we want our podcast to have and design it?
Well, it's actually, even though we cover a broad range of topics, we've always sat down and said, what's our focus? And I think regardless of how broad or if you want to cover every single part of gaming that's ever existed, you've got to sit down and go, what's your focus? What is the thing that we get the most passion out of? Because we can cover, like I said, card games, board games, video games, role-playing games, everything. But after a while, you sit there and go, we haven't covered a board game in a while. Let's cover a board game that we've played recently that we've really enjoyed and I haven't done anything recent. Oh God, what are we going to do? And you get to that point. So we sat down and said, well, what is our focus? What do we both love the most, me and Mike? And we said, well, role-play games is what we love. So we set up a format that goes, we'll talk about the geeky things we've done this week so people can just join in with a bit of chatter, some news, and then we have a topic from me and a topic from Mike. And those can be whatever the hell we want, basically. We can sit there and talk about, oh, I just tried out this Rogue Legacy last week, and that's what we talked about in the latest podcast. Or we had a topic going, I've just played The Resistance for the first time. That was really awesome. I'm going to give a quick review. And then we have a group topic, which is where me and Mike and possibly our guest will join in as well. And we said that's always going to be about role-playing games, because that's something we can always talk about. And when you're trying to decide topics for something that you love, it's so much easier than trying to decide topics for something that you enjoy. There's differences there. When you enjoy something, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll sit down and play Munchkin today. But when you have to talk about Munchkin for the 8th or 9th time, you're like, there's really pretty pictures still. Pictures are still awesome. But whereas when you're talking about something that you're passionate about, it's like role-playing. Okay, let's do some idea brewing, which is our latest series on the show. Let's talk about brewing up ideas for making a space station. Space stations are awesome! I want a space station that goes through the sky and it's like Firefly and it's exciting. And you get to talk about that, and that's when you get that passion and that kind of fire. And that's the hardest thing when you're doing a podcast, is having that passion. Because it's very easy to talk about anything, but you want people to, you want people to go kind of, I really want to try that, or I really want to do that, or that's a really great idea, and you've got to have that passion behind it. So choosing topics, part of it is, well, what did I find interesting this week? The other part is what really gets me excited, and not in a rude way, So yeah, that's how we kind of go about it in our kind of topic and format. So yeah.
And Chris, you don't have a podcast
No.
yet.
No.
Oh, mate, you've got loads of time.
Yeah,
Plenty of spare time.
you slacker. But you do have not just your blog,
Yeah.
but the fact that we are here on this panel is your fault.
Mark Rivera suggested it, and then I ran with it. That was, I think, what happened.
Yeah, but you are the guy. You started and you're running the UK Gaming Media Network.
That's true.
So why did you start that? Because your Unboxed blog
Yeah.
should keep you busy enough, and it doesn't.
No. But that's because I don't do it often enough. So the UK Gaming Media Network, which we are all members of, along with Kevin, who's sitting over there. Can't see any of us, but there are others of us around the venue. There's about 40 of us, which is a bit mental, because I didn't even know anyone could find the site. But I keep getting emails. You've got an email from your site. People want to join. So basically, what my aim with that is promotion. So it started out as self-promotion for us to go, oh, well, we're all really good, let's promote each other. But it's moved into promoting stores and groups and conventions and trying to basically make the UK scene in gaming bigger by going, oh, by the way, this is happening or that is happening. And the problem I have at the moment is I don't have a big enough network of contacts to actually get people to start, because I can't just go start using people's logos and various things to say, oh, go to this site because it's great. I have to actually get their permission. And when you say, oh, I'd like to offer you some free advertising, they go, oh, what's the catch? So, nothing, no catch. Come to us, we will give you free advertising. It's all about promoting gaming, and in some way that Unboxed, my own site, is very much about that as well. Because I don't have that much time to write reviews anymore, I tend to run news articles a lot, which are about people going, oh, I've got this game on Kickstarter. So it's about getting the word out there about a variety of things, and sometimes it's big news from AEG or ILO or whoever, and other times it's little startups who want to get a little bit of attention. And again, that's what I use Twitter for. So I've got 500 followers, so I send out a tweet. Hopefully, some people will see it and it'll generate something. Occasionally, it gets picked up by someone else, and that gets redistributed. And so, it's, for me, it's blogging is all about spreading the word and bringing more people into the hobby. Through there are initiatives that I love, like Imagination Gaming, who are all about getting games into schools and libraries and teaching the next generation of gamers. Maybe we're all too far gone, but there are the kids. They can lead the charge and turn us into a new Germany. Not to suggested, but gaming is so ingrained in that culture.
Really
yeah,
bad.
I was going to say.
But gaming is really
will
ingrained.
bring us the new child.
But gaming is so ingrained in their culture that it's not one of these things where the other people in the hotel look at you like you've gone mental. It's something that everybody does and everyone enjoys, and so that's what we want to be heading towards, something that's ubiquitous and everyone does it, so it's not weird anymore. Like video games are sort of now. It's fine. You can have an Xbox. That's okay, but don't play with cardboard or little figures. It's a bit geeky.
That's for kids.
Yes.
So.
And now, Mark, you also have you're in a slightly more dangerous position.
Yes.
Because you don't have just your blog and your videos, and you've started a actual play podcast as well. But you have your shop, which puts you in a fairly dangerous position, because people are going to say, you're just advertising the stuff that you want to sell. How can we trust that you're saying the truth about whether the games are good or bad?
And to be totally honest, it actually started because I wanted to have the YouTube channel, the blog, for the store. It was, symbiotic. It would help the store. But it turned out, the more I did, I love doing it. It's awesome. I get a lot of joy out of showing the game and talking about the game. But you're right, I've got to be very, very careful. And what I do actually try and do is, I'd never actually try and say I review a game. Because on all the, everything I say, I talk about the game, I talk about how the mechanics work. I try and, when I do a game overview, I try and see mechanics that arise and say, this mechanic is clever because of this, and I explain how it works. But I'd like to try and let the viewer decide if that's good or not, if they like it.
Yep.
So by exposing it in as much detail as I can, that you make the choice. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot that goes into deciding whether or not you like a board game. There's the components, there's the play time. You might play a game 3 or 4 times before you decide, actually, there's a flaw in this, I don't like it, I'm not going to play it anymore. So reviewing, whereas it is awesome, and you guys spend lots of time playing lots of games, and the reviews are brilliant, not to downplay any of that, I am in the situation where I can't really say, this game's great. By the way, I'm selling it, so please go and buy it. So it's just a slightly different situation. So what I try and do is, instead, to compensate for that, is show the game, then you decide. This is, and also being in the network. If you do need a review, then go to one of my colleagues here who have awesome reviews. So it's just a different approach, really.
But your podcast is absolutely nothing to do with your shop. Your podcast is about getting drunk, playing role-playing games around the table.
Yeah. So
why did you start that?
Well, essentially, a lot of my friends now, it's the same with a lot of role-play groups. It's hard because you've got to get a group of like-minded friends, you've got to have them all around to one place, you've got to dedicate, so many hours, and it's hard to do. So it's taken a few years, but we've got a system now where we've used enough online tools, so we all play online, essentially. There's Roll20, if you've seen that website. Yeah, that's quite good with
It's pretty good.
virtual tabletop. So we've perfected it, and we do it over Skype. And then it occurred to me, I was just Googling away, and there was a Skype recording tool. You could just capture the entire session. All we do is play, capture the session, and then I can edit it down. And I've listened to so many actual play sessions that I've found to be more entertaining than anything that's on TV usually at any given time. Because it's just awesome listening to the interaction. It's why you play a role-playing game, to interact with everybody, to get in with the politics of the situation or whatever. And I thought, well, I like listening to other people's sessions. Maybe people would like listening to this session. So far, it seems to be going down okay. As soon as somebody insults me and says, take it down, I hate it, then I will. So don't say that, please. So we put it up there, and hopefully we'll be doing more. But again, it's just a case, it's the time. Once you've recorded it, then you've got to edit it. And there's a bit of a time lapse between recording it and actually managing to put it live somewhere. But hopefully in the future there will be more. And again, it's got Grimm Tree Games on it, but I'm not selling anything. That's just because it's fun to do. It's fun to do, and I like some of my players. I mean, a bit selfish really, because they've been players for a long time, but I think they're some of the best. There's one guy who comes out with one-liners. He's been doing it. He's the kind of person where you would not look at him in the street and say you're a role player, but he's been doing it for that long. He comes out with so many good one-liners that I had to record it so that everybody else could witness his awesomeness. He's amazing. So that's why I do it. That's the plan.
And I personally started 21st of June 2010. That's when
Not that it's etched on your heart.
No, it isn't. It was July. Sorry, getting the month wrong.
So it's not etched on your heart.
No, it's not yet. It will be after now. I basically started a blog, and I'm always too honest, I think, because I wanted free games. Woo! Somebody told me that if you had a blog and you wrote reviews, you could get free games.
Not true.
Yes, it is.
It's all right.
A little bit.
For you, maybe.
Kind of rubbish. It doesn't happen.
No.
Okay, it really doesn't happen. Yes, you get the odd game here and there, and people are very kind, very generous, and sometimes they send you stuff. You will end up spending a great deal. Whatever you're spending now in games, that's nothing. You will spend more money once you begin blogging and once you begin podcasting. Because one thing that blogging and podcasting does, if you have, and I'm going to use the C word, commitment, if you have that, it's going to fuel your hobby no end. It's really insane. If you get into it, you will want to do more, and it eats into you, and you just want to do more. And from wanting to do more, I went from wanting to review role-playing games, which is my passion, it's my thing, to saying, right, board games are looking really bloody awesome these days. Why don't I try board games as well, which are brilliant? And then you think, I'm listening to these podcasts. I really want to talk to these people. I'm going to start and try to do the podcast. And before you realize, you're doing the podcast and spending your time doing more stuff. And then you take your video camera with somebody to help to a convention. 3 years down the line, we've spent more money than I would be prepared to admit in equipment. We've done more videos than we have time for, and still a pile of books and games to review that I have no idea when I'm going to get to, and most of them I bought, which is really sad.
Do we all have a pile of shame? Do we all have a stack of stuff that we're all desperately trying to cut into?
My biggest shame, the games I have bought and I haven't reviewed yet, and I haven't even played yet, and please don't throw anything at me, is Space Hulk.
You have a copy of Space?
I have a copy of Space Hulk. I haven't even taken the figurines out of the sprues.
You should sell it, man. It's
No,
not that good.
Gonna happen. Not gonna happen. It really does. Seriously, if you get into it, if you begin to get anything out of it, and you have what it takes, which is nothing else than commitment, to sit down whenever you can, whenever you want, and whenever you have to, and write, and type, and talk, and edit, and spend the money in the hosting, the blogging will become your hobby. The gaming will no longer be your hobby. The gaming will be your hobby with the blogging, which will also be your hobby. So, word of warning is very addictive.
Yeah. Also, it changes the way you think when you're playing a game, because you're thinking, oh, well, that's clever. I need to remember that to put in the review. And you start to think of it as sort of meta, like you're outside of the experience now, thinking, how am I going to record this? What's going to be, and sometimes you're thinking, I've got to play this a couple more times because I need to get a review up, and you start to go, and so, just be aware that reviewing it's a very different beast to just playing for fun. And some of us, I know that I've certainly got burnt out at times, and it's just like, what, I can't do it. I can't just play. I just want to play games and not to sit down and do 3,000 words on why it's good. So just bear that in mind.
I've annoyed players because I've been writing notes, I've been playing. Oh, I need to remember that play. Session write-up was brilliant. Just play the game. For 10 days.
So that's us. But why are you guys here? I mean, what questions do you have for us? What's your interest in the blogging, podcasting universe?
This gentleman here.
Yes, do ask, please.
I listen to the Dice Tower a lot every week, and I wonder whether or not what Tom does is he's got a big network, and he manages to join other podcasts to him, which then I found out about Little Men Dog Show via him. Is there a need for a British version of that, a network that will talk about each other kind of thing, so which spreads it around?
That's what Chris is doing.
It would be me. Yes, there is a need for it. I certainly think there is a need for it, because what we do is support any UK blog. So you can be, these guys, for example, have just come to me and said, we've got 2 posts. Oh, it doesn't matter. Basically, because of the way that the site works, I take your RSS feed, plug it into to my RSS feed, and so your articles automatically appear as hyperlinks on the site. Click on the link, it goes to your site, so you don't lose any hits at all. But it gets you out there, and the more of us there are, the more hyperlinks we share around between us. So Mark links to me, and I link to Peg, and the more your Google rank increases, and therefore the higher up you're going to be.
You're talking about a website, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm talking about an audio podcast. I mean, I listen to podcasts in the car when I'm running. It's just a I find audio a fantastic way of,
Yeah.
and I guess what Tom does is he has an extract from another podcast will be on his show. And then you think, oh, there's another podcast that I might be interested in that one. And I guess it's a way of joining up lots and lots of site.
If I could slide in to that element as well there, it's almost, I mean, my sort of view of it as well is Tom kind of seems to be a sort of almost like a pyramid, as it were, and then there's feeds in to that.
I think also what anybody that is part of the Dice Tower, because of the prestige of the Dice Tower, makes a big deal of we're part of the Dice Tower, which then links it back up.
And that's then for the tree, which is different, I guess, to what you were saying, because you're gathering, but without a figurehead.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where
I'm going to be very controversial here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really going to be very controversial.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. The Dice Tower has two distinct advantages. One, they've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Tom Vassell, whether you like him or not, okay, and I don't mind the man at all. I listen to the Dice Tower, but he has this Marmite effect, whereas people either absolutely adore the man and go with whatever it is he says, or people hate the guy massively but still listen to what he says. The second advantage that he has, which is possibly the most difficult thing to obtain, is that he's got not just a network of people he promotes, he's got a network of people who help him for free. Because at the end of the podcast, you get, this has been produced by such and such and such and such and such and such. I think any of us can tell you, try and find that in the UK.
Yeah.
You get free games.
Well,
I think
Yeah.
also,
It is very tough to find people with the commitment that you can go and say, all right, guys, I'm going to give you my interviews, you edit them.
I also think there's a level there as well. With UK podcasts, there's not really there's not really like the Dice Tower is a wonderful method for them to get all their communication. There's nothing like that in the UK. No. And I don't think the Dice Tower network is going to be something that would work in the UK because there's not a lot of us. But on top of that, I think also having that communication network would be infinitely useful, I think.
I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to disagree with that. I think a network of podcasters that were organized and was properly run and properly promoted would be very successful because companies in the UK, overall, there are a couple of assholes out there, but overall, they're very, very approachable. Yeah. And I have only met one or two companies that you can tell them, hey guys, we'd like to cover your games, and they will say, you're just a block. You're nothing. Literally. There are a couple of companies that will say that. But overall, you can go to Cubicle 7 and they'll talk to you. You can go to Backspindle Game and they'll talk to you. You can go to Imaginations Game and they'll talk to you. You can go to SDevium and they'll talk to you. It is not an issue. And if it were organized enough, it would be quite easy to be able to say to these guys, hey, look what we're doing, help us.
Yeah,
and
I think you really need as well, Paco mentioned earlier the C word, the commitment thing. You can't just go do an episode, do a WordPress blog and say, right, I've got 3 posts on there. Hello, can I have all of the free stuff, please? It's just like, no, it's not going to happen. You've really got to put the time in, you've got to put the work in, you've got to put the effort in, and you have to try and build your audience, which is vital. And then, I mean, I was incredibly lucky because when I started doing the Little Metal Dog Show, there were very few podcasts out there that did interviews and none that really focused on doing interviews. The reason I got into it is because I love talking to people and hearing their stories, as I said earlier. But going back to your point about having a sort of like a UK version of the Dice Tower, I don't think that is entirely possible because the Dice Tower is a very unique show. It's a magazine show. It's got everything. And as Paco says, it's been running for 10 years and it's got their format down. You know, they open, you know, Tom and Eric talk crap for a few minutes.
Yeah. No, it's to the T. It is perfectly designed.
They do their news, they do their contributors, bit of a talk, maybe a bit of a competition, and then they'll have their question of the week. Then they'll have their top 10. Personally, I think since they split into their the shows where they alternate the question of the week and the top 10, I think the quality of the show has gone up. Even though they're trying to keep it under an hour,
never going to happen.
But I really think the show is great, and that's not just because I'm a member of the Dice Tower Network.
No, it is a good show.
It is a very, very
It's a
well
very
put
good
together
show.
show. But I think if somebody tried to step up and say, right, we're going to do a British version of it, it'd be the same thing as, you know, taking a British TV show and converting it to American thing. 99 times out of 100, it falls on its face.
Yeah.
Sometimes, 1 time out of 100, it could be absolutely golden. But
As you mentioned as well, and both of you have now mentioned, that's actually taken 10 years to get to the format that we're in at the moment. It's not something that, you know, in a short
Do
space of
overnight.
time.
No,
you
he
just-
does.
Yeah.
He did an old show about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and with his previous
with Sam Healy, yeah.
And my God, you can see the difference in quality.
It was shocking.
It's got so much better.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to like the first 10, 12 episodes, and like they were recorded on a crappy laptop in the middle of a field in Korea, and the sound is awful, they're just rowing at each other about war games. I mean, it's amazing they got past episode 10, because why on earth would anybody want to listen to, you know, Tom and Sam Healy just bellowing at each other? But Tom found the niche and really took control, and then started, you know, saying, okay, well, we need to be doing this, we need to be doing this, and he's very, very good at it.
Also at a time, I guess, when everybody is starting to become more, everybody's got an iPhone or some sort of Android device which now picks up on podcasting feeds. So the amount of people who are now picking up podcasts is a whole lot wider than what was, I guess, when they first started.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So again, it's a market at a point when they've just got to that point where both of them collided together.
Yeah, I mean, I think the network is possible. I started the GMS Magazine network a few months ago, where I'm sponsoring a few bloggers that I think are worthy of sponsoring, and I've been very lucky to some degree. I've got Shorty Monster, he's an absolutely brilliant fellow, writing amazing stuff. I got a Peacekeeper who, as soon as he comes back from hospital, will be writing again. I was very lucky to get Ken St. Andre to come on board, the guy who wrote Tons and Trolls. I got in Zeitgeist. I mean, I have been blessed by having that man on board. I mean, he is absolutely incredible.
He's a machine.
He's a writing machine. He's and whenever he does any piece for the podcast, it's just absolute. It's a jewel. It takes a huge amount of time to get those 10 bloggers, and for me to be able to get their writing, bring it into my website, to contact every single one of them and be able to tell them, hey guys, we are recording this Saturday, can you please get me a piece of audio of a couple of minutes sent to me on time?
It's like herding cats.
It is. It seriously is. And when that happens, you have a plethora of all your files, and then you have to put together. And when you have a full-time job, as I do, and a family, well, a cat, and a husband, yes, and you want to play your games because you don't want to stop going to your Saturday club or your Wednesday club, it seriously is a massive struggle. So I think it's not a matter of not being able. Look, the UK is by far, on the planet, the best broadcasting house. The best television is done in this country. Some of the best cinema directors are in this country. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever why we cannot be amazing until the Dice Tower. We should be able to do that. And I think very highly of the Dice Tower, okay? I'm not at all. We should be able to do that. But to find the people to team up with, to have the commitment and the time to do it, is jolly tough. More questions, humans?
Obviously, your gaming network sounds fantastic. I can totally get on board with that idea. You'll be helping the blogs by adding your RSS feeds. What can the blogs do to help the network?
Well,
Other than producing more content.
but yeah, I mean, yes, content links. What I tend to ask for because I send out an email that's standard. Welcome to the network. Here are the things you can do to help us, and one of those things is telling us about conventions that you're going to. Maybe doing a write-up about it, so that we can then publish that in the news feed and go, look, this is a convention. You know, these people had fun. It's happening this time next year or whatever else. Telling other people about us is fantastic. So if you tell stores and conventions and clubs that they can come to us and have free advertising forever, never going to be charged. You know, and we not only do we just give a link, but we'll put their Twitter feed and Facebook links and everything else. So it's about us giving as many links outwards, but I need to get the information in because I don't I don't know everyone in the gaming community. People email me and go, oh, why isn't Leisure Games up on your site? Because when I emailed them, they never got back to me or whatever. It's like I can only do so much. So anything the blogs can do to sort of go, oh, this is good. Send me. One of the things that we try and do is share. Say a company, say you're really into board games, and an RPG company contacts you and say, we've got this product, we want to send it to you. And you go, well, it's not really my thing, but you can email Liz or Paco and say, hey guys, I've got this, but I'm not going to be able to review it because it's not my thing. So we can help each other in that way and pass things around, pass offers around.
Do you find companies are less interested in talking to blogs, but they are quite interested in taking their games to gaming groups to see what people think and feedback and everything? Is that?
Well, I've never really promoted the network to companies going. Send it to us and I'll distribute it to 40 blogs, just because it's not. Well, it's a time thing, and it's I can't say. Some companies contact me and say, oh, can you just put this out? Well, Richard, who organises Expo, contacted me and said, here's my press release. Would you mind distributing it? So I distributed it to everyone in the network. How many of those picked it up and ran with it? Don't know, but it's one of those things that I can do is I can push content out to everyone.
You're like that first stop.
Yeah.
So information comes to you, and then from you the information spreads out, which is very useful.
At the same time, I don't want to get 30 press releases a day and send them to everyone in the network because they'll un-add me, and I'll just be in a very lonely room shouting to myself. It's about trying to filter the content to the right people. So when people contact me, I've had people contact me and say, oh, I've got this game idea. And I was like, oh, great. Speak to Rob Harris, who runs Playtest UK. And he'll do something for you. He'll get you into a playtest session or whatever else. Other people contact me and say, I've got... I'm really interested in an educational game. And I said, great, well, why don't we speak to Nigel Scarf from Imagination Gaming? He'll be able to point you in some good directions. And so it's about being able to redirect and to know what... The more information I know about you and the more I can send to you that's going to be helpful, and the more you feed to me, the more I can know and the more people we can put you in touch with.
Right, we have 5 minutes left pretty much, so, sir.
Thinking of the podcasts themselves, and more thinking about the kind of software that you use, because I'm just trying to figure through. I do some podcasts, very amateurish for my own sort of work that I do in my area full time. But just thinking about almost like tidying that up. What kind of software that you guys have? I know it's a camera, but just thinking that it's tidying up that audio. For example, if you do speak to someone in Russia, A, how do you record it? B, then what do you have to tidy up, and what advice would you give?
There's a lot of stuff out there, and you do not have to spend a lot of money, which is good. For actually speaking to people, Skype is completely invaluable because yes, it's free. You can pay a bit of money for Skype Pro, and then you can have larger sessions, larger audio sessions, which is very useful. For recording, finding stable software is the most important thing. The amount of interviews that I have lost, you sit there, you recorded for an hour, and then your system has decided, actually, do you know what? We didn't record any of that. It's just like, you system. So I currently use a thing called CallNote, which works with Evernote, which is wonderful because you then have, it records everything that you say on the Skype conversation, and then it not just saves it in its own little area. You can hit a button for it to go to your Dropbox, and you can hit a button for it to go to your Evernote, and it will hold separate files everywhere. So even if one hasn't backed up, the other two, please God, hopefully have. once you then get that, basically they'll generally record it as either WAV files or MP3s. And then I just use Audacity, which is again another a free and I did audio production, like I did radio stuff at university, and the systems we were using with these convoluted, heavy beasts of things, and now you've got this thing that costs nothing, that is lovely and simple to use. If you want to make it a bit more complex, you can tinker around with things, but in all honesty, as long as you cut out most of the ums and the ahs, you're going to be all right. The thing I think a lot of people worry about is just when they are doing editing, that it will sound choppy and it will sound bad. Practice, just chat to a mate and then cut out a few bits and bobs and just get used to the systems. They're not super hard to use.
I use, my colleague, we use Audacity. We're university lecturers. We do a podcasting for education. Audacity is brilliant. It is, and it's so easy to edit.
And to be honest, the wonderful piece of software that works with Audacity, which I discovered when, because obviously the wonderful thing about Skype is, it doesn't do any proper leveling for you, no matter how hard you try. So you get it into Audacity, sort it all out. You've got one person who's a little bit louder than the other, and it's all a bit unpleasant. Then what you do is you take it out as a WAV, and then run it through a bit of software called Levelator. And I don't think I've ever been so happy with free software. And apart from Audacity, Levelator afterwards, what it does is it takes your WAV file and then levels out everybody's voice for you. So Levelator, it's completely free, and it's possibly the best thing since Audacity.
And to finish, the one thing that I would suggest as well is spend as much as you can in a good quality microphone, because that makes the hell of a difference. To have a good microphone from having a mediocre microphone, you will notice the difference.
Learn about what different microphones do as well.
Much. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, I mean, if you record rubbish, that's all you're going to get in the edit. You're not, you need the best quality sound first. Then you can play around with it. You're not going to make it any better once it's.
I feel really bad now. I still use a Rock Band mic from.
That was Levelator, did you say?
Levelator. Spell Levelator.
Right, guys, thank you very much, very much indeed. We're going to be around most of the conventions, so by all means, if we are out and about and we are not concentrating in taking a look at what we're going to buy, please do stop us and say hello. If we are too busy concentrating in thinking about buying something, just wait until we've bought it.
Or buy it for us.
Yes.
Come on, we're in it for the free games. Buy things for us. We would love that.
And yes, do say hello and get in touch, by all means. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.